All right, so we're still on 2-point perspective. So in the previous video, we did the sidewalk, the street, and we started off our first building. So now in this video, we're gonna actually make more buildings. So this vertical line that we previously did is the corner of our very first building. So now we need two sides. Okay, that's what we're gonna have with this building. So again, I can't draw a horizontal line. And the only other option I have is like going to a vanishing point. Okay, so let's start with a vertical line. So your building can be thin or wide. Don't make it super wide right now because you want to have room for other buildings that you're going to make. So again, with every vertical line I make, I always make sure my straight edge or my ruler is lined up on the bottom or top of my paper. So I'm going to say my building is this wide or thin on the left. So I make a vertical line. Don't go all the way up to the top of your sketchbook because you don't need to, okay? And so then on this side of that main vertical line, again, I'm going to make sure my straight edge is straight. And I'm going to draw another vertical line. All right. So now, what am I going to do at the top? See how my bottom is going to my vanishing point? Okay, maybe that's a hint. Am I going to do this? No, that's horizontal. I'm not going to do that. And then that's going to look flat up there. We want the top to mimic what's happening at the bottom, kind of like 1-point perspective. So my only option is to take this center line, just like what I did down here. I'm going to take this center line and take it to both vanishing points, okay? So watch how I'm going to do this. I take that center vertical line, connect it to my vanishing point over here. I'm going to do this side first, and I draw my line, okay? I'm going to leave that alone for a second. I'll come back to it. Let's do the other side. Take that center vertical line, make sure my straight edge is connected to my vanishing point over here, and I draw my line. All right, so now it kind of looks like a big diamond, okay? So now you're probably gonna have extra stuff over here. Go ahead and get rid of that. You don't need that, and you don't need this over here either, okay? And then, so this line right here, it's not incorrect, okay? But we wanna get rid of that line because if we were to leave it, we would be super tempted to just do something like this and make vertical lines and be like, oh, I'm done. I've made my buildings. Well, we don't want to do that. They're not wrong, but that's cheating, and you're not going to be allowed to do that. So in order to not be tempted, go ahead and erase it. Whoa, it's an earthquake. And get rid of that line. I'm going to get rid of these two so you guys don't get confused. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. And you might be a little bit mad at me that you drew it, but I have to do that for a reason, to show you what not to do sometimes. Okay, so there's my first building. We made a building, okay? So now we're gonna make a couple more just as examples. I'm gonna show you a few different things with what can happen with these buildings. So remember how I talked about this imaginary line. Sometimes you will have buildings that end here and they look really horizontal and flat. Well, that's going to happen. That's going to be okay. All right. The closer things get to this line, they're like smushing or like flattening. All right. So let's go ahead and practice a shorter building next to this one. So I'm going to make a shorter building to the right. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this really quick, so that you don't get confused by that imaginary line. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with a vertical line. I'm just going to move my straight edge over just a tiny bit, not too much. And I'm going to draw my vertical line. And I'm going to make it shorter, intentionally shorter than this building over here. Okay? And then, remember that imaginary line, I also made it go above that imaginary line intentionally on purpose, just so that we can do this example here, okay? So now, what do we do now? Do we do this? No, because we don't really want that unless it actually really naturally happens right here. So what you're going to do, the only option you have is to take this point to the vanishing point over here. So I'm going to try and do this to where you can see. Hopefully there's not a shadow. So I'm connected to this vanishing point, and see how it's angled here at this line that I just finished drawing. And I'm going to draw the top of my building, like so. If you want to draw all the way to the vanishing point, like so, see how I went like that? That's fine. Some people like to do that because then they're like, make sure that they're doing it correctly. But then you have to come back and erase it because we're going to have other buildings that are going to go there. Okay? So let me show that again. My straight edge is angled at my vanishing point, and then I drew my line right here for the top of my building. So that's a slightly shorter building. Let's do a taller building right next to this one. There's so many ways you can do this and so many different possibilities. So again, I'm going to go back to that line that I just created because now I'm going to extend it, and I'm making sure my paper or my straight edge is lined up at the bottom. And so now I'm simply extending this line and making it taller. So I'm extending that line from that building because they're going to be smashed up against one another. I'm going to move my sketchbook down a little bit. So that's just one line. Okay, now I need to finish. I need to do the front of this building. So now again, I just move my straight edge over. Maybe I want it thin, maybe I want it wide. It's up to you. And I find a place that I like. And then again, I do another vertical line. Like that. All right, so now we need to finish the top of this building. Again, I'm not just going to make a horizontal line. That's super wrong. It makes it look flat. See how the bottom is at an angle? The top has to be at an angle too. They're all smushing and slanting towards this vanishing point. So again, I make sure I'm connected to the vanishing point, and I'm going to take that first previous line that I had done over here and extended. Make sure I'm still connected. I kind of move my paper a little bit. And then again, I'm just going to draw the top of my building. I'm going to go ahead and draw all the way through just so that you can see. And some of you at this point, your building may be closer to your vanishing point, and you may be running into something that this line right here looks super drastic and diagonal, and you're probably like, what? This can't be right. But it's probably right. As long as you took this line to this vanishing point, it's pretty drastic because it's really tall. We did that on purpose. And look at this. I need to erase all this extra stuff up here. And I'm going to erase this line here, my guideline, to get that out of the way. All right, so now I have the front of my building. Okay, I'm missing something, aren't I? I'm missing the side. I'm missing the side of the building. Well, crap, what am I going to do now? I can't do this. Can't make a horizontal line. That's not okay. The only other option I have is like what I did for the sidewalk. Now I'm going to take this and go to the opposite vanishing point. And it's going to go all the way across. Okay, so I'm going to use my longer piece of straight edge. So I'm back up here at this point, that first initial line that I extended, right so, and I'm going to connect to this opposite vanishing point all the way across my page, and I draw my line, and I'm going to draw until I stop, see how I'm bumping into another building over here. I'm going to go ahead and stop. But you could draw all the way through. I guess I just go ahead and will just draw all the way through. See that? See how it goes all the way across? Okay? But then you'll have to erase what you don't need. That guideline all the way over there, like that. So see how then you can just draw until you run into that previous building or another building. Maybe you don't run into another building. It just depends on how you're drawing this stuff. So now what I have is side to my building. I'm just shading it in so you can kind of see it a little bit better. You do not have to do that at all. I'm just kind of showing it so that you can see a little bit of a difference. Okay. All right, a couple more things with this video. So there's your first building. There's a short building, a tall building. You can make any building. What if I happened to make a building that lined up with this horizontal line? Well, here's how it's going to look. So again, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to draw my vertical line, and I'm going to purposefully stop right here, and that's okay. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to make the top of my building. And I line it up here. I line it up to my vanishing point, and then I draw the top of my building. And then you'll probably be like, wait a second, she said we couldn't have horizontal lines. Well, like I said, things are going to get smashed and squished to horizontal lines when you get close to this imaginary line. So this building, yes, is correct. May not feel like it is, but it is. Another thing people like to do is I can show you how to make like a little alleyway or a space between a building and another building. So I'll do one more on this video, and then we'll do another video, the last finishing touches. So if I want to have space between building number 1 and then our imaginary building number 2, here's how we do it. So instead of extending this one for my next building, I'm going to make a space. So let's say I want my next building to start here. I line up my straight edge to make sure it's vertical and straight. Draw my vertical line, end it wherever I want it to go. Okay. Now I need another vertical line to do the front of my building. So again, I take my straight edge, line it up down there, shift it over. Here, I'll do it this way so you guys can see both lines. Line it up like that. So now I have a front of my building. So now, since I'm on this side, probably going to have the top of this building. Can't do this. That's not okay. What am I going to do? I'm going to take this initial line, and I'm going to take it to this vanishing point. And again, it's probably going to be super drastic and diagonal, and you're going to be like, that doesn't look right. But as long as things are connecting where they need to with that vanishing point, then you're probably right. So see how drastic that is, but it's right. And now I'm going to erase this little guy that I don't need up there. Erase my guideline, get that out of the way. And there's a front of that next building. Now I just have a front. It looks super flat. Well, what am I missing? I'm missing the other side to it. So like what we had to do over here, we're going to have to do it here. I'm going to have to take this point and take it to that opposite vanishing point all the way across my city. So I line up my paper, my straight edge, up here at this point. Make sure it's connected over here to this vanishing point. Try not to get a shadow in here. I'm going to draw my line, and I'm just going to go ahead and stop at my next building. I'm going to stop wherever I run into a building. I'm not going to draw it all the way through because then I'll have to go and erase throughout all these buildings, even though I kind of just did. So it's connected from here all the way to that next vanishing point. Okay. So now though, this line could stay here. That's fine. Or, I mean, there's a lot of different options. Let's go back to this one, actually. It's easier to do an example. So this could stay like this, right? Or if I want my building to end there, it could end there. It's up to you. Or maybe I want it to do something like this. And there's my building. It's really up to you where you draw that vertical line, or maybe you don't, and it just runs into that previous building. So you have options all the time. So here's the other side of this building. Let's say it goes way back here. Well, look down here, kind of missing something. Doesn't really look completed down here. So here's building number 1, and now here's number 2. So now what I need to add is something we haven't done before. I'm gonna take this. Am I gonna make just a vertical or a horizontal line going straight across? No, that's silly. Just like what I have to do for the top, I have to do for the bottom. I'm gonna take it all the way to this vanishing point, all the way on the other side. And it may be just a slight, gentle diagonal or slant, but it makes a difference when it's correct. So see how I'm going from here all the way across. And now it looks like a little alleyway. Or maybe it's a little parking lot. It's really whatever you want it to be. If you want to make it into a parking lot, watch this super fast. See, I'm connecting it to this guy over here because I'm on this side. Make a little line, make a little line. Kind of looks like a little parking lot. It's kind of small. All right, so that's how you do some of the buildings. The next video, we're going to talk about doors and windows and signs that you're going to have to add.